Hey everyone, Izzy from Endless RVing. We just wrapped up a 2,300 mile trip. We're going to be going on another 900 mile trip in the very near future. We're doing some cold weather camping today, but in this video, we're going to talk about a checklist. A lot of people have asked, what is a checklist that you go through? Before we go on long trips, we do have some specific things we look at that we check before we go. We're going to talk about that in this video. So the first thing, very important, because this is what's contacting the ground, this is what's keeping you on the road, is going to be your tires. Now, we check the tires on the motorhome, also on your tow vehicle or towed vehicle, depending on what you have. You want to check those also. Now, on our Mustang, we actually replaced the tires a little over a year ago, and then on the motorhome, we replaced all 6 tires last year. So they are in really good condition, but you do want to check them. You just you're going to look around, look at the outside, the inside. You're looking for any kind of tears, rips, bubbles, anything that looks dry rot, anything that looks weird, and then just kind of look at the tread for uneven wear. Again, these tires probably only have about 6,000 miles on them, so they're really good. Another thing you want to check is the air pressure. Now that's going to be much more important, especially if you're traveling in the cold weather. So the air pressure is going to drop down when you're in colder weather, so you're going to have to adjust accordingly. So in order to check the pressure in your tires, you could do one of 2 ways. You could just use an air pressure gauge, which is the cheapest way. We do recommend you use a TPMS. If you don't have one, definitely get one. We use Tire Minder for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's going to tell you of any pressure issues while you're going down the road. Number 2, it makes it really easy just to check the pressure. So I don't have to use a pressure gauge. You can see everything is at 92 right now. Next thing you're going to want to check is going to be external safety features. So we're talking about the marker lights, your windshield, there's any cracks in it, of course, your headlamps, both the low beam and high beam, turn signal, horn, any marker lights going down the side or in the rear. We actually noticed there is one rear marker light out, so I'll be calling Newmar to replace that. But your wipers, you want to check for functionality. You also want to check the condition of the wiper. Now, I just swiped these out when we went down to Florida because I did have tears in them. These actually are kind of expensive. They're about 35 bucks a wiper. But if you get caught in rain, believe me, you want to have really good wipers when you're going down the road. Another tip, guys, what I do is I'll keep one of the old wipers. When I switch them out, I just keep one in the bay just in case one breaks going down the road. At least you have another wiper till you can replace that. Next thing is going to be your fluids, and you just want to check they're at appropriate level. So if you look over here, we have our wiper fluid at appropriate level. We also have some different fluids here. Motor oil is here. We have our power steering fluid, other fluids here. You also want to check your transmission fluid. I just changed the oil today. I change every 5,000 miles. And then on your battery, this is really important. This caught us last year out there. You want to check for some corrosion, if there's any corrosion on here. I've been very diligent on this since we had a little bit of an issue. I cleaned them down. I spray some terminal protection on there. You want to make sure that's all charged up and ready to go. Next thing you want to check is your generator if you are so equipped with one. Now, I am very particular on here. You can see next full service. Full service was done at 263 hours. You're really supposed to do them at 400. I did it early. So once we hit 400 plus hours, we'll do more service. I did change the oil and air filter on 11123. You can see that. So I know this is good. So you want to check the functionality of it. Here's your air filter. You can see it's super clean, guys. Again, you also want to check the terminals for the positive. Here's where you check the oil, which I already did. You also want to check the functionality, guys. So I'm just going to turn it on right here. It's a little cold, but it's up and running. So you just want to let it run, make sure there's no issues. Now, we just came back from Florida. I know it's working really well because we ran it quite a few hours going down and up back home from Florida. We'll be getting full service on this probably when it warms up a little bit in the spring. But for right now, we know that our generator is good to go. Next thing that we checked was our HVAC system. That's going to be the air conditioning, the heat pumps, and the propane furnace, as well as it's not really the HVAC, but the water heater, the Truma, because it also runs on propane. So one thing you want to do if you have a propane furnace is to make sure you have enough propane. So we used quite a bit, about a quarter tank of propane while on our trip to Florida, because one night it was 18 degrees, another night it was 11 degrees. So we were running the propane furnace because the heat pumps don't work below 40 degrees. So as you can see, we're about half a tank. So when we head out to our next trip, like I told you, our assumption is it is going to be cold because it will be in February. I will have this tank topped off before we hit the road. Now, regarding what we should be doing, you want to run the systems. Make sure the furnace works, make sure heat's coming out, make sure the heat pumps work. If you're able to do that, make sure your air conditioning is working. Next thing, if you use the appliances in your RV, you want to make sure those appliances work. So if we have a microwave, we're going to make sure it works, which it does. Of course, turn your propane on, make sure your burners work. That one works. There we go. That one needed a little gas to go through. So our 3 burners are working, which is good. And then one thing which I learned, because we didn't really go out in the cold all that often, is your refrigerator. Now, if your refrigerator is in cold weather, and I believe it's like under 35 degrees, you could turn it on, but the compressor won't kick on. I learned that. So I actually turned the heat on in the RV, warmed it up in here. Actually, I had put space heaters, and then it started getting cold. I'm like, oh, don't tell me this refrigerator broke again. So make sure you check all those appliances. So the next thing you want to do, if you're going to be using the water in your RV, you want to de-winterize. We are currently winterized. The pink stuff is in the lines, but usually a day or two before, I will de-winterize. I will run everything through the lines. Now, before you even do that, you want to kind of look in your lines, both in the bays, underneath. Make sure you don't see any leaks. If you see pink stuff leaking, that means there's a leak somewhere, and it's going to be the clear stuff when you go down the road. How do we know this? Because it happened to us now twice. The lines running into our slide 2 times have broken in the flexible line, and we caught it long before we're supposed to leave, and we're able to get that repaired. Because if that happens somewhere far away, it really kind of sucks. Next one, if equipped with slides, check your slide rooms, make sure they work. Because the last thing you want to do is if you get to a place and your slides are not working. So that's a really simple one. Level your coach out, open all the slides in and out, make sure there's no air gaps, you don't see any spaces, just make sure everything is functioning. So the next few things, and again, we both had them both fail. Your awning, just running in and out. Now, if it is cold out, there's a good chance that it may be frozen. So if you hear it trying to go, don't force it. But if it's of normal temperature, just run it in and out, make sure it works. The next thing, check your levelers. We've had our level motor go out. We've had our leveler solenoid go out. So make sure, and that really sucks, especially if the levelers are down and you have to manually override them. So just make sure they're running up and down. I talked to you earlier about making sure your chassis battery is clean, everything's good, vehicle turns on and off, motorhome turns on and off. We have the battle-born batteries on here with the inverter. I can easily check the inverters working 2 ways. One, are all the appliances working inside when we're not plugged in, which they are. And number 2, I can go right to the Victron Connect app and I can see battery levels and what the inverter is doing. So if all that is correct on that app, then I know we're good to go. I would also recommend, if you are parked for an extended period of time, whether it's motorized or a trailer, but especially if it's a motorized, take it out on a trip, 20, 30 miles, take it out there, run it. You might hear something might go wrong, and you have enough time to get that fixed before you go on that long trip. Now, depending how long your trip is, what your accommodations are, the next one could be really important. A lot of times when we're going to long road trips, we have multiple stays in boondocking location, Cracker Barrel or Walmart or wherever, Harvest Host, which means we don't have hookups, which means we always go with a full or half full freshwater tank, again, depending on how far we're going. Our black tank is minimal, usually like 1/3, and then our gray tank will be empty. Another important thing is you want to make sure you have enough chemicals in that black tank. So if you are putting your waste down there, it is getting processed. Also, it cuts back on the smell. And in order to control that smell and to make sure your black tank is healthy, we use a product, and I'm sure you've heard about it, is Matt's RV Reviews Liquefied. And Liquefied is a enzyme-based black tank treatment. And what that means is that the enzymes in here actually break down the material in that black tank. So when you dump it, it comes out as liquid. It keeps those sensors healthy. We did a whole video actually showing it real world. We'll link it above. But what's also nice about it is that it controls the odors, and there's nothing worse. I mean, believe me, you smell black tank. If you don't get it, is horrific. This has been our go-to, guys. It's pretty awesome. We got excellent reviews on Amazon. We'll put the link down below. Next one is a big one for us, and it has come in handy several times, is whenever we finish a trip, we always top off our fuel tank. Now, we have a gas station probably about 4 miles from us, so us topping off, when we get home, it's still topped off. That is really important. The other important thing is we never let it go below half a tank, because you never know when you might wind up on the side of the road and you have to run your generator. We know that. And you never know when you might be at a campground and you have full hookups and all of a sudden those full hookups go bye-bye because the power goes out. That happened to us also, and it's like 95 degrees out and you have to run your generator. So really, really important. Make sure before you go that your tank is full.
And we never let the tank go down to 10 gallons.
Never, never.
You know who you are. We're laughing.
The next thing is just do a somewhat thorough walk around of the exterior of the motorhome. Also, just look under the chassis. Do you see anything that looks weird? Are there wires hanging? Does anything look chewed up, like rodents chewed it because it's been sitting for a while? Those are some things I look for underneath, but I like to look for on the outside. I just kind of look at the seals. I've caught quite a few times, you'll see a little crack in a seal, because if you get caught in the rain and that forcing stuff, that's when you start getting leaks. So I'll just kind of look at all the seals here. I look at the seals on the roof, anything by the windows, does anything look weird, cracks in the paint, anything like that. Just take your time. The whole reason why we did this video is to share what we do. This is personal for us, but a lot of you have asked about this, and this has helped us. So we have this whole checklist that we go through. As the season goes on and the trips get shorter in between trip to trip, we're not as meticulous, but if we're sitting for a while, especially if we have a really long trip, we will go through those systems. In the comments below, guys, let us know, what do you do before a big road trip? We want to know, and of course our viewers want to know. And if you like videos like this, to the left of us, we'll put our RV newbies playlist, we'll put our RV DIYs playlist, and from myself and MJ, it's a journey of a lifetime, and we'll see you on the road.